joining us, St. Louis. This is What Retirement Means to You with financial advisor Jerry Means. He's the founder of the Means Financial Group, and I'm Spike Spengel. Jerry, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Spike. How are you doing?
I'm good, but I want to know what's on your mind. How do we want to help people this week?
Well, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about how people find their financial advisors and or their financial team and what they should talk about. And by the way, you look great in your St. Louis Blues.
I will fully admit I am pandering to the audience out here. Yes, I got my St. Louis Blues numbers on, my colors. I love it. Love when hockey season is in. Although go Cards as well. We know all of our teams and favorites here. But this is a great question, though. What do you mean by a financial team? There's so much that we have to do today on our own, especially with 401ks. We have to make our own selections. But you always talk about, as we move to retirement, it becomes a lot more complicated. When people come to you, though, if they've used other financial advisors before, like, how do they normally find a financial advisor?
Well, the biggest thing that I see is referrals. People will often, and also it depends on the age of the client too. Like younger clients tend to find people through the internet and AI searches and things like that. Mm-hmm. Because our firm, we mainly work with people 50 and over. We're seeing that a big percentage of it, maybe half of that, comes from referrals. People just word of mouth, right? And a referral is the biggest form of flattery, right, for existing clients.
Of course. So yes,
we love when we get a referral.
Yeah, I mean, we get a referral for a good restaurant from a friend. We go check it out, right?
I looked at all of our new clients from last year, and over 50% was from referrals. So one that tells me
that's a wonderful testimony.
Yeah, that tells me that we're doing a decent job.
Yeah.
But also it just shows you that people are asking their friends, hey, who do you work with? What do you like about them? And there's lots of questions that people should ask when they sit down with a financial advisor. I mean, not just because they're a referral doesn't mean they're the right fit. What type of advisor are they? Are they independent? Are they with a captive firm? How do they charge for their services? Do they charge by the hour? Are they charging an hourly fee? Are they charging an hourly fee? Are they charging an annual flat fee? Are they charging a percentage? So an advisor should sit down with you in the first meeting and clarify how they get paid. I mean, I do that in every first meeting I sit down with someone. Number one, I know they're already thinking it, but some people are afraid to ask. So they feel like it might be rude to ask, but it's not. You should ask that question. And so I'll sit down, and a lot of times I try to wait for people to ask me the questions I know are coming. Jerry, what happens if something happens to you? I get that a lot. So
Really?
I explain to them, hey, we're a team here. It's a firm. It's not just myself. And we do have a succession plan if something happens, or way down the road when I retire, things like that. We have things in place. But those are the kind of things people are wondering when they come in. They sit down and they want to know, like, what is this going to cost me? How do you get paid? What if something happens to you? Mm-hmm. How is this going to work? How often are you going to meet with me? Those type of questions. I try to address those in the first meeting. If you're working with an advisor or you're looking to work with an advisor, we hope that you'll give us a call, but whoever you sit down with, you should be asking those questions.
Jerry, just looking at the backdrop of this year, the stock markets have been roaring, at least as of this broadcast right now, and they've done well. And usually, and we can actually look back at the last 14 or 15 years, besides the 2020 of COVID, we've had a lot of strong stock market. You feel that people think to themselves they don't as much need a financial advisor because they see their accounts growing. Is there a possibility of the other shoe dropping, though, when markets change over time?
Yeah, I mean, in a great bull market, everyone looks like a genius, right? It's you can make small mistakes but still do pretty well. Where your advisor or your own self is tested in your investments is when we do have those market crashes. I mean, I've been doing this for 27 years. So I started in the late 90s. So about 1998 was my first year. So I seen the 2000 .com crash, 9/11, unfortunately. And then 2002 was kind of a hiccup from that all as well. So it was 3 down years. And I seen people that came into my office from live events back then saying, hey, I never want to lose money like that again. Well, then we had the Fed cut interest rates down to bare minimums in the early 2000s, which propped up the market, but also led to the housing and financial crisis of 2008. So I weathered that storm with my clients in 2008. Again, we've seen 2020 with the pandemic, and recently in 2022, when the Fed raised rates 13 times, that crushed the stock market and the bond market. I was able to weather that with my clients as well. So, it's hard to say, oh, I've got this if you really haven't been tested before. I was at a meeting a few weeks ago of financial advisors, and it was just really funny because I was sitting down with a young advisor. He'd only been in the business about 5 or 6 years, and he was saying like, "Oh, my clients have never lost money in the market," and I was thinking, you haven't been tested yet. You know what I mean?
You were thinking to yourself, hold my beer, kid.
Yeah,
It's common. I mean, it happens to everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't control the markets, but I love that. I mean, it ain't your first rodeo.
Yeah.
You've seen this before.
And here's the thing: if you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, even, you've got time on your side, so you can make some mistakes. Your advisor can make some mistakes. You can be aggressive and have time on your side. But if you're nearing retirement, you're almost retired or already retired, the game's a little bit different because you may need to pull off of those assets while the account's down, which just adds to your losses. You don't have that time to recover as much. So very, very important to sit down, understand the risk in your portfolio.
As folks find their financial advisors, we're finding a lot of the research, it kind of happens by chance. Now, the referral is wonderful, and it's great that those several hundred, maybe a couple thousand people be able to get your wisdom. But the thing is, going through internet research, a lot of folks can pay to be higher up on a search bar, or maybe they just have a representative that already reached out to them for their 401k. It's very random, it kind of sounds like, the way that people find an advisor. So what we're hoping we can help the audience with is to be able to be a little bit more purposeful. You've been great at this lately. Why don't you explain for yourself? Because we can't talk about what other firms do. You can talk about what you do. When you do a report and a review, it's not just about investments.
No, we do a holistic plan. So what we're offering is if you call the number on your screen or you click the QR code, you can schedule a visit with myself or a member of my team. You can come in, you can sit down, and you can talk with us. We're going to get to know you. There's no pressure, there's no obligation, there's no cost to come in and have a conversation. If you like, what we'll do for you is we'll sit down and we'll do a written income plan for you, not just a hypothetical, but we'll do a written income plan for you. We're going to look at the cost in your portfolio. Are you paying for things that you don't necessarily need? Or are you overpaying? We'll see if we can trim some of those costs for you. We're going to look at your tax situation. Is there a way that we can put more money in your pocket versus the government? We're going to sit down and put some tax strategies together for you. We want to make sure that you're diversified, not only into different stocks and bonds and mutual funds and strategies, but into different tax buckets. We're going to do all of this at no cost, no obligation. We'll look at the risk in your portfolio. If you're close to retirement or already retired, do you need as much risk as you currently have? Or are you not taking enough risk? Maybe because you were afraid of the markets, but you maybe just need to see a new strategy. Come in, sit down with us. Again, no cost, no obligation to have a visit with us. We'll do the free, no cost, no obligation, on-track retirement report for you.
You can call 844-878-1293. And just as Jerry was saying, no credit card, there is no obligation, no need to bring in your purse. Let's just start the conversation so we can get started on your own on-track retirement report. More with Jerry Means right after this.
I started working in the retirement market, seeing people during the day. And what I quickly found out is they had a really unique set of challenges that were different than everyone else. They were worried about longevity and outliving their money, worried about long-term care, how they were going to leave their legacy to their children and grandchildren. So I really focused my practice on that, and that's what I've been helping people with for the last 25 years. It's an ongoing process. Life changes, family dynamics change, the markets, the political environment change. So really sitting down and have a written plan. We want to make sure that you stay on track to stay retired. Right? The worst thing is to be 80 years old, run out of money, and have to go back to work. We want to stress test all these different scenarios and make sure that their plan is going to stand the test of time. You can't do that if you don't have a written plan or a strategy in place.
Welcome back to What Retirement Means to You with financial advisor Jerry Means of the Means Financial Group. We've gotten a few phone calls, both from the radio show and from the television show. We have always been addressing couples in retirement. We have sometimes addressed solo retirement, but there's a whole nother landscape of folks out there that we want to make sure that we are addressing as well. I do and I do again. When you wrote that title, tell the folks out there what that means.
Well, what we're seeing today is a lot of second marriages, second acts, third acts, whatever you want to call it. People that have come in and, they've been married before, they've had kids from previous marriage. Now they're finding love later in life, either because of divorce or death or whatever it is. They're getting together, and that complicates investments. It complicates the housing situation. So we're sitting down and we're helping people sort that out a lot.
Yeah, especially when it comes to estate planning. So I'd like to talk a little bit about this as well, because we've heard everything about folks who have come together later in life, and maybe they're living in the same home. They've been together for 10 years, but maybe they didn't legally get married. So now we've got a complication of home, of assets, as you were saying, maybe different children and so forth. When it comes to financial planning, when do you start talking about estate planning? Is it only just for the couples out there who've been married together for 30 years?
I mean, I think everyone should have an estate plan. I mean, if something happens to you, I mean, we have the unknowns out there, right? So how do you want your legacy to pass on to the next generation, or to your spouse, or to a second spouse? How do you want that to look? That's a conversation that everyone should have. Now, not everyone needs every document under the sun. Not everyone needs a trust, for example, but some people really do need one. When we talk about the second marriages, some situations require a prenuptial agreement. And a lot of times people shy away from that, thinking it's a negative or not having the conversation. I look at it as maybe it's a responsible thing to do, not just for the person, it's to protect both spouses, not just to protect one. Sometimes they both need their own prenuptial agreement, you know what I mean? So again, things like living wills, those do not avoid probate, and they are public information, but it's great to have them as kind of a backup to designated beneficiaries on your accounts. If you have a 401k, a 403b, a 457 plan, you should make sure that all of your beneficiaries are updated on those accounts. Matter of fact, when people come into my office and I'm going through, I start asking, who's the beneficiary on this account? And it's funny because I've called some of the companies to verify information on the account, and I'll ask who the beneficiary is. And a lot of times it is like the previous spouse, or that's always a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's someone on there who's deceased now, and we need to update that. So it's very important to do beneficiary reviews. And when people come to my office and I do a review with my clients, even my existing clients that I know I set the beneficiaries up properly, because I'm kind of a stickler about that. When I pull up their one-page report that I use in my review, I have their beneficiaries on every account right there where they can see them. Because you'd be surprised how many times people go, oh, you know what? We didn't have Johnny on there because when we got together with you and we did all this, we were kind of upset with him. I didn't even know there was a Johnny, and they'll say, we want to put Johnny back on there. Or they'll be really upset with someone and want to take them off. It's kind of like you're in the will, you're out of the will kind of thing. So it's really important to have that conversation. Or maybe there's a new grandchild that's born and they want to have them on there somehow. So it's good just to have that conversation with your advisor, or if you don't have an advisor, to call on your own and make sure that all of the beneficiaries are updated.
Right. Speaking of calling, I do just want to bring up the phone number real quick. This is a resource. If you have been married happily for 30, 35, 40 years, call the phone number. We want to talk to you about the estate plan as far as your financial planning for retirement. If you have been remarried, or if you had a spouse who passed away, retirement planning and financial planning, it's not always perfect. In fact, life gets a little bit messy. But when it comes to leaving that legacy, we want to make sure that you've got all of your bases covered. Now, you brought up something very interesting in there. Needing a will, needing a trust. Does everybody need a will? How do you determine who needs a trust?
So that's a tricky question, but I'll try to answer it. I'm not an attorney, but I do have attorneys that I refer people to. But as a financial advisor and as a fiduciary advisor, it's a conversation that I have to have with clients. And I know enough to be dangerous, Spike. But I always have the attorney back me up, right? So everyone should have a durable power of attorney for finance. Basically, that just says, hey, if I'm incapacitated, I need someone to be able to take control of my investments, or take care and help pay bills and things like that. And a lot of people make the mistake thinking that their spouse is automatically going to fall into that role. But let's say that the bulk of your money is in a retirement plan, a 401k or an IRA or something like that, and it's in your spouse's plan. and your spouse is incapacitated, you cannot go in there and touch those assets unless you have some type of durable power of attorney to execute that. You might be the primary beneficiary, but that's if they die. If they're actually still living and they're incapacitated, you have no right to pull money out of that fund, even if it is for good use to pay expenses. So that's why you need to have that document, or it could be a son or a daughter or whoever it is. You should have someone designated for that situation. The other document that I feel is really important for everyone is a healthcare directive. That's, hey, if I'm in this situation, I'm in the hospital, and I need care, I need someone that can make those decisions, that can talk with the doctor and say, yes, we want you to do this, or no, we don't want you to do that. That's a very, very important document for everyone. The trust, though, is a little bit tricky. Not everyone needs a trust, because like I said, if you've properly designated beneficiaries on all of your accounts, they will avoid probate. However, it's very simple. If you pass, this is who the money goes to. In a trust, you can get really, really finite with that and say, okay, I have 3 kids. 2 of them, I want to be able to get their share right away. But that third one, we'll pick on Johnny again. Maybe Johnny is a spendthrift and they don't want him to get all of that money all at once. Maybe he'll do more harm than good, having all that all at once. So they want to structure how he can get those payments. It's hard to do that with a beneficiary designation form. You need a trust to do that. Maybe one of the kids has a disability and they can't control that money, but you want to make sure they're taken care of. You can handle that inside of a trust. Also second marriages, things like that. So how you want to separate the money for different, for their kids and your kids in certain situations, a trust can be handy for that. But not everyone needs a trust, but there are good uses of it. There's some asset protection with trust, things like that.
Right. What I also like that you were saying in there is that making sure that the money is going where you want to, whether you are married or whether you have gone through a divorce or your spouse has passed away and you're now unioned with somebody else later, making sure that you've got those 2 legal documents, the financial power of attorney and the medical directives. I think that's important whether you're married or not. You need to let somebody know who is allowed to make those decisions. For a couple, if something happens to the spouse and a large amount of your savings is in the 401k plan, it doesn't matter. The spouse does not have access to the fund. You need to give somebody financial power of attorney. Now, talk to me about this. You say you've got some folks who you do work with to help with that?
Yeah, so I have an attorney that I refer people to that will give them a no-cost, no-obligation consultation to come in and tell them whether they need one or not, and if they do want to do one, what the cost will be. So I don't want to tell the cost for the attorney, but the attorney can explain that to them, and they can go in. And I have an agreement with him that hey, he's going to treat the clients like the same way that I do, and they're going to be able to sit down, no cost, no obligation, to have that conversation.
That's huge today, because I know that even talking sometimes with an estate planning attorney, there's a cost just to have that first appointment.
And here's the thing, Spike. I mean, estate planning is of course important, and you need to have those documents, but before you have an estate plan, you need to have a financial plan, because without a financial plan, there's no estate plan. There's no reason for an estate plan. So what we do is we're going to offer you a no-cost, no-obligation consultation to come in and sit down with us for what we call our on-track retirement report. If you call the number 844-878-1293, or you click on the QR code, you can schedule a time to sit down with myself or a member of my team. What we're going to do is we're going to sit down and we're going to help you figure out what type of estate plan that you will need, but we're also going to look at your financial plan and say, okay, do we have a written income plan? You want to make sure that you have a written income plan, something that's going to help you not outlive your money in retirement. We want to look at the costs in your portfolio. Are you paying excessive fees or fees for things that you don't need? We want to look how diversified you are and how much risk is in your portfolio. Do you need as much risk as you're currently taking? Also, if you have annuities or CDs, things that are at a lower interest rate, maybe we can get you a better rate today, or we can lock in a better rate before rates drop. Give us a call, no cost, no obligation, 844-878-1293.
More with Jerry Means of the Means Financial Group right after this.
Let me ask you something. If anything happened to you tomorrow, would your family know what to do? Would they know where your documents are, who to call, and what your wishes are? I've worked with a lot of families, and I've seen what happens when that clarity is missing. It's not the money that causes the pain, it's the guessing. That's why we put together something called the Legacy Quiz. It covers the key areas most families overlook, from wills to power of attorney to digital accounts and where important documents are stored. It's quick, it's free, and surprisingly, it's eye-opening. You can take the quiz now at meanslegacy.com. It's a small step that can help your family avoid some very big problems.
Welcome back. You are with financial advisor Jerry Means of the Means Financial Group right here in St. Louis. Jerry, we've talked before about how folks are working a little bit longer, but do we have to work the same 40, 50 hours a week slog to have some income in retirement?
No, I mean, I'm having a lot of people come in saying, hey, Jerry, can I retire now? Because I want to do something different. I've been doing this for 30 years. Things are changing, right? AI is changing the way a lot of companies operate. So, you're 62 years old and you don't want to learn new tricks, right? You don't have to, you don't have to go back and learn new software programs, things like that. I get a lot of people say, I just want something that's less stress for me. I have enough, I've saved and benefits. I think I can retire early. I want to do something different. I don't want to just sit around and not do anything. But I'm seeing a lot of that. My grandfather comes to mind. I talk about him a lot on the show, but he had this saying, if you rest, you rust. And I always loved that. It always stuck with me. And he retired from McDonnell Douglas before it was Boeing. And he had a nice pension. He had Social Security. So did my grandmother. Their house was paid for. They were living very comfortably. But my grandfather then got as a second act, a real estate license, was like flipping houses and helping sell homes. It was extra income, but he really was doing it to keep his mind active, to keep his body active. My grandmother sold Avon, door to door after she retired. That was like her part-time gig. And I don't think it's an accident that he lived to be age 90 and she lived to be age 95 because they were active and they were keeping themselves busy. And it didn't hurt to have the supplemental income to come in. Yeah,
to give yourself a purpose, to have something to do. I'm glad that you talk about lifestyle because a lot of folks think, I'm going to come into a financial advisor, just going to be about the investments and the numbers and what is this going to cost? It's really what you do about lifestyle planning. What do you want that retirement to look like? And having a purpose, I also agree with you. I think it helps you live a longer, healthier life.
Yeah, there's lots of fun things that you can do in retirement. I mean, tutoring, right? I mean, you're giving back to your community, you're helping the youth, but you're still keeping your mind sharp. And it's not physically hard for you to do that. Volunteering at shelters and things like that. I have clients that do dog walking, stuff like that.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of apps and online forums and so forth where you can register yourself in a profile. We've used some of the pet sitting services when we've gone on vacation. It's usually a younger person. I'd love to see some silver-haired person walk up to the house and go, yeah, go ahead, sit there, have coffee, have tea, hang around the house. That's fantastic.
Yeah, they're probably a little bit more patient too.
Yeah.
That's my experience.
You're going to be there. But we can also then talk about the volunteering, community, church, faith, whatever it might be. It might even not need to be a paid position, but to have something that we're looking forward to. If you rest, you rust.
Yeah, to work if you want to, not because you have to. I mean, that's the key. Some people are fine, like, Jerry, I'm not going to work another day in my life. I'm going to play golf and I'm going to do all these things. But a lot of people come in, they really don't know what they want to do next, what their second act is. And that's the funny thing about financial planning, whether they're already retired or nearing retirement. I always explain to people that financial planning is not an event. It's an ongoing process. Things are constantly changing. Legislation changes, your life situation changes, interest rate changes, inflation changes. So it's important to come in and do reviews with your advisor. We hope that we're that advisor, of course, but to come in, I do a 6-month review. I know a lot of advisors do an annual review, but what I found over the years is people's lives change a lot in a year. A lot of things happen.
Oh, yeah.
So I run mine similar to the dentist's office does, right? Like you go in to see the dentist and they clean your teeth. What do when you leave? They want to set you up 6 months from now for your next cleaning, right? Now you put it on the calendar tentatively. Things might change because we don't know where we're at in 6 months, but you're going to get a reminder in 6 months that, hey, it's time to come in again. I do the same things with my clients. When they come in, we do a review. I let them know, hey, if anything changes, you need to call me or come in and talk to me. You don't have to wait 6 months to do it. Give me a call and come in. We'll sit down and talk. But I'm going to reach out to you in 6 months and say, hey, it's time for you to come back in again. Even if nothing's changed, let's at least have a conversation. So really, really important to stay on top of things.
So the Means on Track Retirement Report and Review, this isn't a static document. This isn't just a one-time conversation. We've got the phone number up right now. We're going to be closing the show out in a couple of minutes here, but we want to leave that up there. This report, it sounds like it's ongoing for you as well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we sit down and it's constantly evolving. There's new products that come out that I'm excited to tell my clients about. Hey, this wasn't available the last time that I talked with you. This is something that you might want to look at. So I'm really excited about doing that. You know, if you give us a call, 844-878-1293, there's no cost, there's no obligation, and there's no pressure to come in, sit down with myself or a member of our team, and we will do the on-track retirement report for you. We'll look at what does your retirement income plan look like? Do you have a written strategy, not just a hypothetical, hey, I think I'm going to pull this much out every year. Let's stress test that portfolio, make sure that it's going to work for you in retirement. We want to make sure that you're diversified, that you don't have too much in one investment, but also that you diversify your tax buckets. Do you have pre-tax, tax-free buckets and after-tax buckets? We want to diversify your tax strategy. We want to see if there's anything that we can help you do to help lessen the blow on your next tax return or your future tax returns. So come in, give us a call. We'll look at the risk in your portfolio, the written income plan, the fees that you have. There's a lot of things, Spike, that we do on this report. So I really encourage callers to pick up the phone.
Right. You can do that right now at 844-878-1293. Probably one of the things that folks want to know about when they come in is, about the investment style. What are we going to do? What is the process going to be like? And what I really enjoy about talking with you is that we dial it back and go, what do you want your lifestyle to look like in retirement, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So often people come in and they say, okay, Jerry, this is what we have. And I'll kind of set it aside.
Put that to the side.
Tell me about you. Tell me about your family. How long have you guys been married? People come in and sometimes you just assume they've been married for 30 years, but maybe they just got married 5 years ago. So I want to get to know them. What are their kids like? What do they like to do? And so forth.
All right. And if that makes sense to you, call the phone number right now. As Jerry keeps saying, no cost, no obligation, no credit card, no nothing. You can come in and sit down with financial advisor Jerry Means of the Means Financial Group so we can run your on-track retirement report. Thank you so much for watching today's program. We'll be back again next week.